So now there are actually 3 people in the world who know how to unlock my phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who is?
That would be my wife, yourself, and me.
Oh, I'm blessed. Okay, so all right, I'm testing it. Because I asked Adam if he could lend me his phone because I forgot my second one, and I have there my question. So if let's see if I succeed. Have it.
There you go.
Awesome. Okay. So let's use it as a teaser for the interview. All right, Adam. So who doesn't know Adam? Adam is adaptive music sound designer for KCDI 1 and 2.
That's correct.
And also a composer. And I don't think many of the people in the community, especially the new ones who were dragged like with the announcement, release trailer of the KCDI 2, has joined the fan club, know about Adam and his job. And I would like to relate more to you and talk about it more into detail. So let's go into it. The beginning, how did you end up in the Warhorse Studio? What is the story behind it?
Well, first of all, Jan and I are cousins.
Right? Cousins?
Yes. So, and then we were trying to, like, okay, so we wanted to offer ourselves as a duo of a composer and a programmer. I would be the programmer, right? And to Warhorse. And then it just so happens that at the same time, Jan was actually invited by Daniel Vavra to come on board. And
yeah, I think I heard the story.
Yeah, and then Jan was so kind to actually like bring me in there. So
we're the same ship. It was just you or some other guys who we like dragged in.
Well, yeah, we would have more people, of course, at some point because we would have people who would be like recordists and sound engineers for the actual recording, these kinds of things. But that came sort of like at the, let's see, later phases, right? At the later stage, when there was this recording in Rudolfinum, right? That was obviously you need people actually playing the music, right?
Yeah, of course.
Right. Otherwise, it would be a very, very silent session.
Well, we had a presentation about the silent tracks you use in the.
Oh yeah, we do have like multiple.
There's also some deafness in that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go if you can. What I would like to talk about here is, and I haven't seen it much in all the kind of interview you had, is the pop music.
Pop music.
Because the pop music is a very favorite of mine. I am very happily listening to it. It's nice ambient, it's chill, it has a good vibes, a good atmosphere. So how you get the inspiration for the pop music?
Okay, I like old music. And that's why I make chiptunes. Okay, so my dad was a singer, and he was singing with the Prague Madrigal singers, and that was an ensemble which was focusing on, let's see, early Renaissance all the way up to late Baroque, right? So early Baroque, a lot of Renaissance, that was like the focus of their repertoire, right? And so he was singing. So that's the music I actually grew up with, right? So yeah, I know that Kingdom Come is, let's say, 1 or 2 centuries too soon for let's say blooming Renaissance music, right? That would be too early for that, but there were some hints of that, right? And honestly,
was it just about, pardon me for interrupting, was it some that you kind of have the melody from the Renaissance, but they just used the like 200 older instruments?
Not really. No, actually, the melody just I like composing melodies, right? So it could be that I think melodies just happen. They
come to your mind.
Yeah.
Same as
well, so I don't think that's the bottleneck. Coming up with the melody is not the bottleneck, right? The production is the bottleneck, right? And the actual structure of the music is the bottleneck. Because okay, so you might be able to, let's say, come up with let's say 2 or 4 measures of music, right, which sound nice and pleasant and all these kinds of things. But what do you do next? Where do you take it, right? What are you going to do with that thing, right? And I always was like struggling with these kinds of things, right? Because I never studied composition, right? I was my background is I'm technically an electrical engineer, and my background is computer science, right? So I'm a programmer by craft, but I'm a musician by domain. I was always like focusing on music, right? And yeah, so through our family, right, I have gotten a very, let's say, extensive but informal training in music, right? So my dad was a singer, and he was like doing these kinds of things. Obviously, Jan is the main composer of the game, right? So we would be working together, and then his father was a conductor, right? Yeah, and then our cousin Elishka is a speaker. No, is an announcer and also a host at the Czech radio, and she has her band, and so we have, and then my other cousin Eva is a harpsichordist, Jan's sister actually. Oh. She plays harpsichord, and she lives in Strasbourg in France, right? And she works at the conservatoire there, right? And my aunt Eva, she is the principal of a music school. So music is a really part of our family. That's a part of who we are, right? It's just that I sort of like got to it from the, let's say, sidelines, kind of, right? So I was mostly working. I'm mostly a programmer, right? I write code. That's what I do for a living, right? And it's just that I like that whatever I do is somehow linked to sound, right? So if it is sound, I'm interested in it, and I explore different use cases of sound. To me, music is a very important use case of sound, which is definitely worth exploring, and I have spent many years doing that, right? But that's not the only thing that I do with sound, right? I do. Let's say I use sound as I would use sound as an input device, right? So essentially, you are singing or humming, and that would control the computer. That was my PhD actually, right? And then I would explore how you can use sound in the context of accessibility. That was my habilitation, right? So I'm interested in these kinds of things, and now
the inspirations, the melodies coming. So it's from the Renaissance period, and something comes to your mind, or as a Jan Walter, he goes to the toilet and whistles some melody, and then he progresses it and go more deep. If you have some juicy, funny story like that.
So my
or it was your approach?
My approach, I don't know. Sometimes I would just improvise a little bit, and that's something that just starts sounding nice, so I just end up using it, and then I just elaborate it somehow. Sometimes not even that. Sometimes I know that I need to write a piece of music. For a lot of pieces of music in KCD, I wrote a lot of my music for KCD. I wrote in Plassey at our countryside house. In the garden. We had this beautiful like a sitting arrangement in the garden. So I would just have my laptop there, and we'll just writing score, right? So. And yeah, so that's how I don't really have a method, to be honest.
That's cool.
I don't really think that. Well, some people do, some people don't. I don't have a method, right?
Okay.
So I only know that I would be not always, but I know about myself that I would be struggling with the structure. And so I realized that to me it was a revelation actually to start writing music in the score. Well, that's like if I say stuff like that, like any composer who's actually who has been studying these kinds of things, you would be like, duh, it's like everyone knows these kinds of things, right? But I couldn't believe how well it works, because it abstracts you from the sound. It makes you, when you write that piece of music, you don't have to worry about how it's going to sound. You know how it's going to sound, how it is going to sound, because you know what instruments you're using. So that's solved. And you don't have to worry about that, right? You don't even have to worry about production. That comes later. So you're only focusing on the melody, on the structure of the music itself. And since the editing is quite fast, you don't mind deleting things. You don't mind holding on to things that you don't know how to develop.
Okay.
Because before then, I would be making stuff in Reaper. I would be like producing tracks like directly, in the DAW, and that's a mistake. That shouldn't be done. Because, I've done a bunch of stuff, and they were not bad. I mean, I'm proud of some of like a lot of my music that I have made, right? It's just that very often it would happen to me that I would sort of like trap myself in the thing that I have produced the first, let's say, 8 bars, eight measures, and then I would not know what to do with it. And then the, let's say, part B, or the next thing, let's say, like the next part of the music would not be produced, would not sound nice, because I haven't spent that much time on it just yet.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
and then I'm like, I don't want to work on this thing. I just like to twiddle with the first part, but then I don't have a content, right? So this thing is eradicated by writing score, right?
Okay.
So that's a super nice.
I think perfect ending.
Yeah.
And another question: the music you compose, no matter what the approach is, it needs some musicians to play it right.
Yeah.
And pop music is played by some medieval band. And I heard last year on the concert KCDI, I think it was in April, that it's a Bacchus, if I'm right. So if you can describe how was the cooperation with the medieval band? How did you contacted them? Or they contacted
actually, it was
story? And
they were contacted by Dan.
Oh,
by Dan, and then I got to know them, and I got to befriend them, and they're really nice people.
Yeah, I know them from the medieval events in Paris.
And I just and so then so they told me what kind of instruments they would be using, and I tried sort of like tweaking my music so that it would be compatible with whatever they are playing.
So we were tuning, polishing it to the instruments they mentioned.
Yeah, somehow, to an extent. And then, but then what you hear in the pop music, that is actually not entirely live, right? It's like most of it. It has enough liveness. It has enough live recordings in it that it does sound live. But the rest is produced in Reaper, in a DAW from samples, right? So the session was actually quite complex, you know, and a similar approach I took in the KCDII. But I started from the score. I didn't in the KCDI I would start in the DAW somehow, and so the score came later, right? So in this time around I I've done it the right way. Right? So I started with the score, and then I would give parts to people from Bacchus, right? And but this time around we actually recorded things instrument by instrument, right? Like line by line. So because
and then you put it all together.
In the first game they would be playing all together.
Okay.
Right. In the second game we just went stem by stem. Right?
So it will help you more.
It's easier. It's easier to actually produce it. Yes. So what you actually hear, the outcome is live instruments with stuff that is not entirely live, right? But when I'm producing music, I always try sort of like that I don't do stuff that the live instrument wouldn't do. You still need to know what the live instrument would do, so that you don't make wrong choices, so you don't misrepresent that instrument, right? Because sometimes like you can actually hear this, that when someone is playing, let's say playing an orchestra, playing as if they would be, he's using samples of, let's say, string orchestra, but is doing exactly the same thing that you would do on the piano. It doesn't sound like a string orchestra, right? Because string orchestra would have voices, right? So you have, let's say, 5 lines, and the lines behave as, let's say, independent lines, right? And if there are harmonies, it's because the lines sort of like go together. If they go against each other, that's because it has been written like that. But when you play as if you were playing the piano, but you just use the samples from the orchestra, you don't really play orchestral music. You play piano music. It's just that your samples are all wrong, right? So different instruments would have these like rules or expectations associated with them, right? So I don't know. For example, you have a flute or a recorder, and you know that the person cannot, let's say, play forever. You need to breathe, right? So every so often you need to have a pause in that, so that the hypothetical person would be able to, breathe in and just continue, right? If you don't,
this is a solution for this case.
Exactly. So essentially, you need to be aware of these constraints, right? And also, what helps is that when even if it's like a virtual instrument, that certain things would not would not be played by the real person because it's just difficult to play. So it's, for example, it's like some combinations of tones have really like awkward, like fingering transitions, right? So you want to avoid them, right? Not that I would go to these extremes, but if you are doing it, let's say, if you are doing whole 9 yards, you should be doing these kinds of things as well, right?
Okay.
So yeah, and then what was really challenging was I was showing that approach, that the pieces of music are all non-linear, which means that we can end them prematurely, right? And so what I experimented with was, can I do this with live instruments, right? Because at some point I would like to try this with the big orchestra, but we never did that because it would be like, if it didn't work out, it would, too much was at stake, right? So what I mean by that is that you need to record the main part of the music, right? And then you have those those endings or those branches. And the way how they work is that you would play a bit of the music that would be in the main part, but at some point you start playing something else, and that's the branch. And so technically, how it's done is that you have this long stream of music with those snippets synchronized. And when you need to do the exit, you simply crossfade into the snippet, right? But if it's not synchronized, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But when you do it from samples, it's actually easy because the DAW, the digital audio workstation, your session will always play the same way, right? So, and if you're careful with your samples, you know that it's going to render exactly the same way, right? Every single time. So you know that the common part will always render the same, and the continuation will always sound compatible with what was before. But live instruments are different, right? So when you're recording, you're sitting in you're sitting in some position in front of the microphone, right? So you'll be recording, and then you take a break, come back, and the sound is different because you don't sit exactly in the same spot. There's a reason why high-end studios would record temperature, humidity, why they would be recording, why the continuation would, why they try not to do like split different pieces like across different sessions, right? But if they absolutely have to, they tend to, let's say, play at the same time of the day.
Especially if you have old style instruments with the natural materials.
Yeah, and like voice actors would do this sometimes, right? So when you have a lot of lines to read and you're not able to do this in a single session, you want to come back to it next day. But you want to make sure that your vocal cords are going to be the same, right? But they change over time. Like you sound a little bit different in the morning than you sound in the afternoon, right? You sound a little bit different after the meal, or if you have if you drank water or not. These kinds of things. It always changes, right? The instruments are similar. So, but here really, I was so surprised that Richard Zavada from Bacchus, he would sit a little bit further, and the sound was completely different. Right? So, but in order for these transitions to work, I needed to make sure that he would sound exactly the same on the alternative, version of the thing. But that was, let's say, half hour ago or 1 hour ago, right? So what I ended up doing was that those macros that I used to chop up the music into those parts so that I would be able to import them in my engine. I have that as a plugin to Reaper that I implemented, that I coded in the Reaper's API essentially, and then I would run this plugin while the recording was actually happening, so that he would be able to get references, which would be timed with the parts that he needed to follow, right? So he would write those. He would record those endings in the way that he would start playing along with the original, like with the main version, and then he would play the second thing. But he would always be given, let's say, context, a few seconds, so that he would get to the same mood, to the same rhythm, to the same feel, right? So that when eventually he takes the other alternative route, it would sound the same. And then there was a lot of editing, so that I needed to make sure that the cut is going to be placed exactly where it would sound natural.
It really sounds complex and difficult.
Yeah. So essentially, I was grateful to have had this opportunity because I was able to experiment. Right. A lot of it was a lot of these things were like, I was trying things out. I was literally like learning on the job, right? Because that's what we all do, right? We're game developers. That's the whole point. And so now I'm pretty sure that we could try something similar next time, but with a bigger ensemble.
Okay.
Right?
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if there might be some addition to that, but I have prepared other question regarding if there is any difference in your approach when you move from KCD1 to KCD2. Is there something that you changed? You mentioned like the medieval band, the instrument that you recorded each other, then you're combining it together. Is there something else you would like to mention?
A lot of things were. In a lot of things, I think things were less hacky, so to speak. Less. It was less. There were fewer surprises in the production process because we've already, like my Victor, my instructor of my climbing instructor, when we would do some rappelling or something like that, his favorite quote would be, "It's not the first time we're doing it. It's the second time we're doing it." Right? So exactly that. So essentially, it was not the first time that we have done that.
Okay.
That I have been a part of such a thing, right? I can only speak for myself, right? In this context, but I've been working on some other games, right? But not that this, they don't even come close to KCD1 or KCD2. So essentially, there were fewer surprises because I know what to expect and I know what went wrong. I remember that when I was, let's say, putting together all the soundtrack, I knew how much manual labor went into fixing some scripts, like some manual scripts. So I actually made some like build tools, right? So there was like a musical DevOps kind of a thing, right? On my part. So I sort of like I played back in my head like what all went wrong, and I was trying to see what things can I prevent.
Yeah. So it was like more like focusing and changing or optimizing more like the technical part of your job in KCD2 than the composing or some other.
And I think I have learned some things when I listen to my music in the first game and the second game. I think I there's some improvement. I think. Well, right.
So in some way it sounds, especially for example those pop songs which you could hear from some streams or reveals and teasers about KCD2. They look in some way. I feel they have this. They are tiny different, but still have the same like energy. I like you keep that. Yeah. And I'm looking forward how it will sound. I
mean, there is this wedding suite, which is there, and I'm not gonna spoil where.
Yeah, don't spoil because Toby's all around here. So
So that's that, and there were some. It had to be somehow linked to some animation stuff like that. So there were some constraints like tempo and these kinds of things, right? So that was different, So part of the music is like have these kinds of technical constraints that I didn't have in the first game, right? I wrote text. I wrote lyrics this time around. So I wrote lyrics for there is one essentially pop song. But
right? It will be in pop. Well, yeah, we had some 3-4 pop songs.
Yeah, I mean, like there were 2 pop songs in the first game, right? There was the Zastupi Dzieweczek, and then there was Przyszła Bida Mora Hlad, right? So these 2, and then and they're going to be like a couple, right? And I will have one in there, and I'm kind of proud of that. But I also wrote the lyrics.
Right? Yeah, I'm looking forward to hear that.
So I'm pretty excited about that.
Was it also Warhorse staff also saying
the same
really?
thing? Yeah. So we have this.
Fun.
Yeah, that was
looking
fun,
forward.
Right? So Dan is singing as well. So
he is a good singer.
And then a bunch of other people from the studio. Yeah, it was
cool.
So nice.
Because there are two composers, I don't think there is no one else working on the KCDII. So you and Jan, your cousin.
Yeah, more like Jan and me. But
well, yes, the majority was. But how do you support each other? Because Jan, in a lot of interviews, mentioned that you are supporting.
Guy.
So
I'm the technical guy, first and foremost, right? And so I figure things out, right? Not only like how to. Well, and obviously I do the music implementation and like the music integration and the entire vertical thing, right? So I start somewhere up here with, you know, where there's the design, you know, then somewhere here is the composition and the actual production, and somewhere here is the implementation, right? So essentially I'm like the music is somewhere here, and I need to take care of this and this, right? Where here you have the low level stuff, the C++ things, and streaming and like integration into Fmod and our own, you know, and my own adaptive music middleware, right? And up here is like to be able to formalize the music states for the, you know, like the quest-based music states, for example. You know, so yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. I think we're getting slowly to the end. we have other presentation to catch, but if you can wrap up, what is your focus now in Warhorse? What are you now like working on until the release? Or because
I'm pretty much done. So I still have some I still have some bugs on our U-Track. That's our bug tracking system, right? So, but yeah, honestly, my work is done. Off to the next adventure, right?
It was really Well, I know that there's if I'll be lucky, I'll have interviewed also Martin Klima, but I know that the Warhorse already started work on other project. That's what I have catch on the medias. So you have a part like composing music and the designing and the story, etc.
Well,
so this is the part. This is the beginning of the job. Then
I have moved to the US recently.
Yeah.
So I started working for Embody.
That
is a company which is focusing on where we simulate hearing essentially. So we simulate like a directional hearing. So we have a technology which is injecting the directional information into sound, so that you would have the feeling that the sound comes from a specific, you know, direction around your head, right? And it's tailored to the game itself, because each game would actually need slightly different design. But mainly it's tailored to you because you have a unique shape of the ears, right? So every person has a unique shape of the ears. And we have a model which actually translates that into highly sophisticated filters, which then render this output stream. And so I joined them recently.
So will this be somehow implemented or put into games?
Yeah. We have it.
Or is it directly focused to put?
Yeah. It's directly. It is for games. We have it in Call of Duty Black Ops 6, right? We have it in Cyberpunk. And yeah. So,
Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
This is years old game.
Yeah. It's a
long term.
It's a new edition, right?
Oh, okay.
Right. So it's like a new add-on for them. But yeah, but it's there. And so that's what I'm focusing on now.
Oh,
yeah.
Interesting.
Because, you know, I told you that I'm mainly interested in sound, right? So music to me is one of the use cases, but not the only use case.
Yeah, I see. Well, I think similar has it also, Jan. And last but not least, is there a way how you will celebrate the release of KCDII, Kingdom of Deliverance 2?
Oh, I'll be in California, and I'll be, you know,
celebrating on beach, champagne.
Actually, you know what? Beaches in the Bay Area are windy. And
I was on Santa Monica.
There's a lot of actually that's actually nice and then warm, but you know, not up north. We're in the Bay Area, right? San Francisco Bay Area, and things are cold there, you know.
Okay.
And so every so often I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the ocean beach. You know, me from the landlocked country, I just want to enjoy the ocean, right? So I'm there, and now it's cold. There's a sand everywhere, you know. So when you see those, you know, like I always like, do you know 2010, the classic movie? When the
catastrophic movie.
No. Well, catastrophic. Well,
there's another one.
No. The HAL 9000, right? He goes back to HAL 9000 to actually see what happened with the previous mission, right?
Oh yeah.
And there was this scene that he's on the beach, right? Like, and doing some calculations on his laptop, right? And he's obviously on some ocean beach, right? And he's like, I want to live this. I just want to experience this thing. Okay, so I took my laptop, went to our beach, ran away in 5 minutes. so cold and so sandy. It was like sand everywhere, you know.
Yeah.
So you don't want to have sand in your keyboard, right?
Yeah.
Like just, you know, the
chiclet, presentation and many different.
You don't want to have like you know, my keyboard felt crispy.
Crispy keyboard. Okay, so Adam, thank you very much for the interview. Very happy to have you here. Enjoy the rest of the Gendel session.
Thank you.
And wish you all the best. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and successful release of KCD2.
Thank you, Zdeněk. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye bye. Hello, Adam.
Hello, Zdeněk. or sirdoenny.
Yeah. For the people who doesn't know me, my name is Zdeněk, but I'm also a content creator, or trying to be, trying to spread the word about Czech history and our little Czech nations. I actually follow the steps of what you as a Warhorse started. You know, spreading the word about Czech Bohemia or Czech kingdom, Czech history. So I'm very happy, Adam, that you had the opportunity to have an interview with me, because I have some several questions which I honestly would like to ask you.
Thank you for, you know, I'm honored, really.
So. I'm honored, to be honest, I'm honored here. We just together with Adam, well, Adam was presenting, I was attending, we just finished the presentation.
Correct.
And it was really good, I like that. And for those who doesn't know Adam is a designer. Fuck.